McLaren has had a very troublesome season, one in which they were in a fight with Alpine for P4 just because Alpine had lots of reliability issues. However, the situation between Norris and McLaren isn't really in the best of shape now, as Lando continued to take shots towards his team. One huge factor that they struggled with is the budget cap, which Ricciardo's contract had a massive influence on. And now that he is gone, the team could improve in that particular aspect. However, this is much easier said than done, and McLaren is due for some issues in 2023. McLaren struggled with brake overheating at the start of the 2022 season, which they were able to resolve in subsequent races. However, they struggled a lot with the 2022 regulations, and due to the presence of the budget cap, they weren't able to introduce upgrades as they would have liked to. Nonetheless, Norris has accomplished something that no other driver outside of the top 3 teams has done. He has climbed the podium in 2022. Andreas Seidel, the team principal, spoke about the issues that the team had regarding the budget cap in 2022, adding, quote, "That's probably the same challenge for every team that had to downsize with the introductions of the budget cap. In the end, you need to define the size and the shape of the team to your best knowledge, making sure also that especially in these first years of the cap, which are challenging, you also stay within the cap." End quote. Obviously, the 2022 season has been the worst for McLaren ever since Seidel took charge of the team as part of Brown's wider restructure of the organization back in 2019. This is something that Norris has also acknowledged, as he has been taking shots at the Woking-based team when it comes to pure pace and fighting Alpine for the P4 spot in the Constructors' Championship. Concerning the pace in 2022, Norris stated that it's very strange and fortunate for him that they're still fighting for the P4 with Alpine, a battle that they unfortunately lost. In 2023, the team will struggle when it comes to the new wind tunnel facilities because they will be up and running later in 2023. This eventually means that the team will struggle for pace in the first couple of races of the 2023 season, and that's why Norris said that the first competitive signs of McLaren will be in 2024 and 2025. On top of that, the British driver added that McLaren will have no excuses to not win a race in 2024 or 2025, or to not be in the championship fight. But why is Norris so dissatisfied with the pace of McLaren? It's evident that Norris has great talent, and that was proven many times in 2020 and 2021. He was able to beat Ricciardo by a large margin and have the first pole position of his career in 2021 in Russia. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to win a race, but was very close in Monza when McLaren completed a dominant 1-2 win. Still, the young driver thinks that the team underperformed heavily in 2022, and that is something that is not supposed to happen to them in the upcoming seasons. Norris has given his team a warning about the upcoming season and a short resume about the 2022 season, adding, quote, "From where we were in race 1, I think we've done a good job. We recovered well. If I think of before this season, did we achieve in 2022 what we should have done as McLaren? Honestly, it's no. If we want to do well, and we want to be champions at some point, and we want to win races, we can't be satisfied with where we have been this season. But we can certainly be satisfied with the progress we've made. From the mechanics with our pit stops, our strategy, the whole team's work ethic, so many things are working well. It's just we need a slightly better car, that's all." End quote. Obviously, the team struggled a lot with Daniel Ricciardo and his pace throughout the 2022 season, which eventually saw them release him from his contract duties and replace him with Oscar Piastri for 2023 and beyond. The team put a lot of hope in the young F2 champion, and for all the right reasons. However, Ricciardo's release from his duties has cost the team $15 million, which isn't an easy thing to overcome when you have such a strict budget cap in place. Lando Norris has spoken a lot about the MCL36, the 2022 version of the McLaren car, and obviously he isn't feeling happy with how the car has performed in the previous season. However, Norris also felt that this is an issue that has been persistent with the car from the previous seasons as well, blaming it on the lack of front-end grip. McLaren and Alpine were in a very close fight for P4, and one disappointing factor for the outcome of this season was the fact that Norris was literally a one-man show at McLaren. Ricciardo managed to pick up some decent points, like in Mexico and Singapore, but one couldn't help but wonder whether the Aussie had joined the party way too late. That is why McLaren has struggled to keep the Alpine behind them in the Constructors' Championship. with the Aston-based team struggling a lot with reliability issues in 2022. McLaren ended the season 14 points behind Alpine, and Norris has also talked about the outcome of the 2022 season, adding that the lack of front-end grip has cost them a lot in this battle that they lost. Quote, "It's just our car, the characteristics of the car. The things we struggle with, the car doesn't have enough front. For me, all I need is front. I don't need rear tires, but when I have front, we can be quick. As soon as we destroy the front tires, we were seconds off, or half a second or second off. So it's just the characteristics the car relies on too much. But we know all of this. We've known it. It's just been something we've had for years, sadly, and it's our job to get rid of that for next season." End quote. With these statements, one couldn't help but wonder whether McLaren is on the right path when it comes to the upcoming seasons. Obviously, Zak Brown has brought the team to the midfield and will be the best of the rest in 2020. But with high results and expectations come high desperation and frustration. That is why Norris feels like the team doesn't have any excuses in the future. And if the team doesn't deliver results in the upcoming seasons, then rest assured that he is going to look into his options and probably leave the team for a top competitor. In the past, Norris had some interesting offers from Red Bull, something that he is probably regretting by not signing now. However, Norris also had some talks with Red Bull prior to extending the deal with McLaren until 2025, and while he has high hopes for his team's success in the future, he added that he could feel a bit happier as of now when it comes to the team's position and the team's current performance. Norris also shared his thoughts on his future plans prior to renewing his contract with McLaren, citing some intriguing options such as Red Bull, as there were talks with the Austrian team before. Same with other teams in the paddock like Mercedes. Some of it, he said, were just simple chats and just keeping in touch with each other, but we all know it's not as simple as that sometimes. But despite those talks, Lando still seems loyal to McLaren, as he said, "I've always been happy with McLaren. As much as I could be happier, I've always been happy. Before I've ever spoken to anyone else, my talks have always been with McLaren first. That's always how it goes. As much as sometimes you would like what could happen, the best thing for me is signing the contract that I have now. Just having that confidence that you're going to be in F1 and the knowledge that you're going to be in F1 for 3, 4, 5 years, finished Norris. Obviously, Lando Norris wants to invest all of his youth and knowledge in McLaren and make it work with the team that trusted him back in 2019. However, his loyalty and patience are not an infinite resource that the team can bet on, which is why the young Brit could be extending his options when the contract ends in 2025. What is even more of a challenge for him now is that he has to beat a young and very promising rookie Piastri on the same machinery. Could we see another battle at McLaren like we saw in 2007? Only time will tell. What do you think about Norris and his current situation at McLaren? Can McLaren finally compete for wins next season? Let us know in the comments below.